How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing? Yeah.
Hey, I want to sit down and have a few minutes of your time if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
I just want to ask you a few questions about what makes Watts County so great and what the growth plans are and what our community needs to be ready for.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are great about Wise County, but I think it really all boils down to the people behind it. And we've had a lot of good people throughout the years that built this county and gave us our history, and we've got a lot of good people in place in the communities now, and all those communities together are unique and diverse, but make one really great county.
That's great. Well, you talked about the county and the community. When selling real estate, I don't really sell a house anymore. I feel like I'm always selling just the community, telling everybody what we have going on with the around the square or in the county, and telling them, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to live in a little third of an acre, or do you want to live on 2 acres and get you spread out and have some animals on it? So I just really think that this community caters to a lot more people looking for a good hometown community feel. I think that if I can just if there's no nominal number on the type of great people we have, you can't put a number on that.
And that's true, because people can find a house anywhere, most places, but what's different from place to place is the people in the community. And I think that's where we have such strengths, is because people aren't moving here because they say, gosh, let's move to Wise County, it looks like every place else we can find.
Right.
They're moving out here because they're seeing something different in the communities. Yeah.
Well, I think it's great that we have you representing us on a local level as well as a national level. Well, I think more people don't care about the national level so much. So let's talk a little bit about what is Wise County? What do you see for the population growth or the preparation that you're doing for this county?
Well, and growth, if you go to any of the civic groups and people that are plugged into the community, everybody's talking about growth and have been for several years now and saying, well, growth is coming. But the growth is happening now. It's not some far off concept. And, we see it in Commissioner's Court through the plats. We approve all the plats that come in. And to us, that's kind of the front line where we're seeing it. It's not just a theory. This is people actually dividing up property for future housing and in the not so distant future, and they're dividing that up so they can develop it. And I think that's a huge indicator of the growth that we've got happening and continuing to come, and it's going to ramp up. And just from the Commissioner's Court aspect, we approve any plats that happen in the unincorporated county, and those are just stacking up each court. And that's important because it's not houses on the ground today, but it's people dividing up that property for future houses, and gives you an idea of how many houses are potentially coming in and where they're going to be and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I know in my line of work, I definitely see those plats, and I'm probably part of the problem with the growth. But, it's a great thing I see, but also that we're able to take somebody living in Metroplex and on a small little half acre or a quarter of an acre and get them on 2 to 4 to 5 acres and let them enjoy what Decatur has to offer, which is land. Yeah,
and you raise a good point too, is there's really no point in arguing about whether or not the growth is good or bad, because the growth is happening whether you like it or not. And so it doesn't do us any good as a county and as a community to sit back and bury our heads in the sand. Instead, we need to be proactive and to help manage the type of growth that we want to see.
I love that. I think that a high density subdivision is needed in certain areas. If we can but if we can alter that in some way to get some people on a little bit larger acreage and let them still have their animals, or let them have some cows or whatever it is, I think that's what our heritage, I think that our ancestors would love that.
And we don't want to just sit back and be disengaged and let growth just roll over us however it happens. And instead we need to be engaged in having that conversation about what type of growth do we want to have.
I think that's great. I even took a note, and I see here that, what are you guys doing to plan for the growth? Is it roads? Is it infrastructure? Is it, better platting processes or more regulations? What do you see?
More people means more traffic, and what we're trying to do, we have counties and cities have different rules on what we can do and what types of authorities we have, and it's very clear from the state that we have a lot of authority when it comes to roadways in the unincorporated county. So we think that's where we can really have a positive impact on the growth that we know is happening now and going to continue to come, is planning for roads in the future. And not just over the next year, but roads 10, 20 years from now, where we think the growth is going to be happening and what types of growth. Because if there's an industrial park being developed, that's very different type of roadways than a housing community is going to need in another part of the county. And we need to make sure that we're planning long term for how do we get to the type of roadways that we need for the growth that we're going to have? We can't let the growth happen and then say, now what kind of roads do we need? Because then we're already behind.
Right.
And so we're trying to be proactive in that.
So planning for the growth, yet you're planning for the safety of our residents.
Yeah,
our people
absolutely,
in the
absolutely.
people passing through.
And we're trying to think ahead to where problems might happen with traffic. There may not be a lot of traffic there right now, but in 10, 20 years, what might that look like, and how can we try and get ahead of it?
So I hear like people are looking at Decatur the same way that they looked at Plano 20 years ago,
Yeah.
or Frisco area. Is that true?
Yeah, and I know, I mean, you know, Decatur and Frisco, two completely different situations right now in terms of the huge boom they're seeing over there. But as we worked on this transportation plan with the Council of Governments, they were trying to find a historical model they could look at, and what's another area that's maybe seen the same type of growth, maybe some of the same housing pattern growth that Wise County's seeing right now. And they found a lot of parallels to Collin County in the early 70s. A situation like that, and say, okay, what did they do right? What do we maybe want to do differently? How can we learn from some of the growth they've had from being a rural place with a lot of fields, like you mentioned, to suddenly there's housing developments coming in.
And that's just, you know, there's a lot of information to people need to know about, and be prepared and be knowledgeable that, you know, it's a good, you're in here every day, you know, you see it, we don't get to see this, we just
Right.
go to our 9-to-5 jobs or whatever it may be, but it's great to see somebody like you preparing, or being in the middle of preparing for what Decatur is going to be, not just Decatur, but Wise County and these communities that are going to be surrounding it. So, hey, I want to take you over next street to Trinity Coffee Bar to see if you want to enjoy.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of numbers, they say in 2005 we were around 59,000 people, and now let's say we're around 65,000 people. That's not a huge amount of growth from 2005 to now. But it's ramping up, and in fact, I mean, we're at about 65,000 people, and they say by 2040, we're going to be at nearly 102,000 people.
Oh my goodness.
And then by 2045, be over 105,000 people.
Lots of growth coming this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey.
Hey. Well, I know we're both pretty regulars, but we'll just do 2 black coffees.
Perfect.
For here.
Perfect.
So, you know, you got all that stuff, but that's a little bit about the population estimates.
Yeah, so we've been talking about kind of the forecasts that the Council of Government has done, you know, 20 years down the road, but they also do some population estimates for like what they're seeing right now, what they've seen over the past year. And I mean, those just came out yesterday, and it shows exactly what we've thought was going to happen, is that growth kind of rippling up from the southeast corner of the county.
So like up 287 north.
Yeah,
From
and I think, you know, for Wise County people, a relevant statistic to think about is the city that saw the greatest percentage of population growth. So not actual people, but the percentage was the city of Newark. Saw the largest percentage of growth, and it's because of its location. And you know, 3.7% growth from January 1 of last year to January 1 of this year is what the COG is estimating. And in a small town, 3.7% is significant over a year. And people think of, oh, Newark, it's a small town. Well, we've got lots of small towns, but that growth is coming up from that southeast corner, and it's going to be a lot of planning and a lot of growth management for our communities.
Coming there because they, you know, they had the land to grow, and we also have the land to grow here.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's going to keep coming on up.
No, I really, my whole intent was to come and talk to you just about what is Wise County going to need to be ready for. You know, we can read all this, and it may not stick, but my goodness, I just want to hear it straight from you, and you telling us you're right there in the forefront of it. So planning for growth is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's community growth. It's coming this way. It takes a community to grow it the way we want it to grow. If you accept it and we work as a team or work as a community, this place will continue to be what it is and continue to be great. To get more information about J.D. Clark, go to votejdclark.com, and his bio and everything about his history is on there, and you know,
contact info.
If
somebody needs to visit.
Why would anybody need to call you though?
Man, about anything in the unincorporated part of the county, or even if they've just got questions about how different things work,
Great.
process-wise.
votejdclark.com.